I'm super excited that we're on our fourth and final masterclass. And this class has some of the most important tax-smart information that you're going to want to get out of this course. An investor needs to understand that some OZ's entity structure is that of a partnership and the other entity structure is that of a REIT. They both work a little differently, and going forward, I'm going to get into some of the subtle nuances and the pros and cons of each. Let's start off talking about OZs structured as a partnership versus a REIT. First things first, partnerships issue a K-1 tax document for income tax reporting, which may require an investor to file an out-of-state tax return, whereas a REIT doesn't. Before you fret that, let me tell you that an out-of-state filing is not a big deal. Most CPAs that I know may charge a client a couple extra $100 for the filing because it is indeed a super simple short form and filing requirement. The huge benefit of the partnership structure is that passive losses flow through to the investor versus a REIT, which only passes through income but no passive losses to the investor. Passive losses are a big deal because they can shelter much of the income that your OZ investment might provide. Remember that in all OZ investments, 100% of your growth is tax-free if you hold a qualified investment for the required timeline of 10 years. Keep in mind that most OZ investments plan to, but do not guarantee, to provide 35 to 80% of the investor's capital back to the investor in the early years tax-free via the fund's cash-out refinancing plans. Capital returned to investors that are loan proceeds are not deemed by the IRS as earned passive or portfolio income. So again, that return of capital is coming back to the investor tax-free. Again, tax-free returns of capital to the investors are projected but not guaranteed. An investor would want to make sure they had a way to pay the future cap gains tax liability should for any reason the QOF be unable to return the cash to the investors in the early years of the program as projected. You'll find that some OZ funds are structured as a REIT and issue a 1099. And in this instance, there would be no potential requirement for an investor to have to file an out-of-state tax return. The REIT structure does not directly pass through passive losses to the investor, but most firms who structure OZs this way say that the losses are effectively passed on to the investor in the forms of a figures adjustment that indirectly shares the benefit of any passive losses with the investor in the same way. Moreover, the REIT structure, as part of the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act, qualifies for the QBID deduction, which is an effective 20% reduction in any income recognized on the investor's 1099. So which is best for you, partnership or REIT? I'll leave that to you and your tax advisor to decide, but suffice it to say that both partnerships and REIT have some pretty attractive benefits. One investor might prefer the simplicity of a 1099, while another may feel that they get some extra bang for the buck with the passive losses directly passed through via the K-1. I think both have merit.